the next 10-15 minutes, we're going to be discussing Serhou, Guirassy, Clarke and Jonathan Lowe, as it's the West Ham transfer rumour show. Now, for those of you who do not like the gossip during the transfer window, which I completely understand by the way, this video is not for you. However, don't go too far, because earlier on this channel we uploaded our Bristol City preview, so go get your teeth into that because it contains zero transfer speculation. But for those of you who don't mind a little bit of the transfer tittle-tattle, stick around. We'll be discussing those three players who are linked to West Ham, as well as Said Benrahma and a little bit of squad registration rules, but I'll leave that till the end of the video. It's a bit boring, not too many people like it, but for the geeks like me, we'll do it at the very end. Well, first, let's start with Serhou Guirassy. Now, we've been linked with him for the last few months now, haven't we? But who hasn't been? It feels like every Premier League club has been linked to the Stuttgart striker at one point or another. Not quite everybody, but it feels like a lot of them have been. Now, I think you can dismiss most Premier League clubs by process of elimination. Who actually needs a striker who can afford, most of us can afford him, because of his release clause of €17.5 million. But this is what makes him attractive to clubs, because it's punt money. When you bring in any player from abroad, there's going to be a little bit of hesitation as to whether he'll settle in the Premier League, whether he'll settle in England. But when you're buying a striker who's scoring goals week in, week out in any league for £15 million, it's worth the gamble. Even if it doesn't work out, you'll probably be able to recoup your losses by selling him back to a Bundesliga club. So I can understand why a lot of clubs are linked to him, but also a lot of clubs are genuinely interested in him. Now, over the last week or so, those clubs have shortened. We're still there, as are Wolves, who worries me a little bit, and then Newcastle, who perhaps doesn't worry me as much. Perhaps a bit naive, but given that Newcastle have been eliminated from the European competition, they've got Wilson and Isak there. Now, granted, they never seem to be fit at the same time, and one of them's always half broken, so they've both got pretty poor injury records. But now they're only competing in the Premier League. They've also got the FA Cup as well. Do they need another striker in the January transfer window? I'm not too sure. And there's a big sort of question mark over Eddie Howe at the minute as to whether he'll be here next season or not. So whether Newcastle go into the transfer market for a striker, I'm yet to be convinced. In regards to Wolves though, that one I can see. Kladzic has just left. He's gone to Frankfurt on loan for the rest of the season. It's not really worked out for Sasa. I thought it was a good signing when they brought him in. Obviously, he did, was it his ACL? He got a major injury 20 minutes into his debut or something. He was out for the entire of last season. He's had some bits this season, but it's not really worked for him. But he's gone back to the Bundesliga. So now there's a vacancy at the Molineux for that striker role. I think Cunha's done well there. I think Hwang's playing well in the front three. Neto's obviously been injured for some time as well. But it does feel like they could do with another attacker and a striker. So perhaps that interest is genuine. In regards to West Ham's, ex-West Ham employees linked us to Guirassy again. Now, obviously, Tim Steidten will know of him from his time in Germany to some extent, but who doesn't? He's not a secret. It's a bit like when we signed Mohamed Kudus. It's not like you're plucking some unknown from the leagues of Argentina, and that would be impressive. You're going after the top goal scorer in Germany that's been hitting headlines in the Bundesliga all season because he's been breaking records. Harry Kane broke a record, and Guirassy broke it on the same weekend. There is a big question mark over his form. Can he sustain this? Or is it just, I say a purple patch. It feels like it's gone on too long to be labelled as a purple patch, but certainly he's had his best ever start to any season in his career, 27 years old. Is this as good as it gets? Has he just sort of peaked a little bit and then it's all, not quite downhill from here on in, but have Stuttgart basically got the best out of him already? But a €17.5 million release clause, I still think it's worth the gamble. I think he would suit the way we play under David Moyes. Can he adapt to the Premier League? I don't know. But like I said, the price tag becomes attractive. I would still hope that we are in for him. Obviously, he's at the African nations at present. But I do think, listen, if he was 25, 30 million, it would probably be too expensive for me to sit here and say, I'm not too keen on this sign. But he's not. Even if you only got 2 good years out of him, I would still argue that is good value for a striker. Hopefully, obviously the domino effect would be, it would hopefully mean that we could allow Danny Ings to go. And when I say go, I mean just get his wage bill off the books would be substantial for West Ham at this point. Is there interest from us? I'm not too sure. Because everybody knows about his release clause. You can imagine if any club genuinely wanted him and had him as their number one target for January, they'd have perhaps made the move already. Nobody has yet to the knowledge in the footballing world, so we'll have to wait and see in this one. I still hope that we are in for him. Fingers crossed we are. I expect him to move. I will be surprised if no club takes up the option on him. Like I said, that team from the Molineux worries me a little bit, but it depends how much West Ham genuinely want him or how much of it is just clickbait. I appreciate it's a bit hypocritical me making YouTube videos, but as we always say at Hammers Chat, we don't create rumours, we just discuss them hypothetically. So do I think the interest is genuine? I think there's probably a level of interest from West Ham, but if you go another week into the transfer window, we've still not made our move, my sort of optimism on this transfer happening would decrease a bit because of that release clause. Now moving on from strikers to wingers, and there's two of them we're being linked to, and they're both in the Championship, Jack Clarke and Jonathan Lowe. But before we discuss them, if you're new to Hammers Chat, please do subscribe. It takes 2 seconds and it's completely free. You'll get all the videos, whether it's transfer gossip or not, into your subscription feed, and also drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up. Helps out this video, helps out the channel, makes me very happy, as with the signing of Jack Clarke of Sunderland. Obviously, he was at Leeds United. Spurs paid about 10 million, I think. It wasn't a small fee. They paid quite a substantial amount to get Jack Clarke out of Leeds. Didn't work for whatever reason. He never really got a crack at it, but they let him go to Sunderland on loan. Well, he went to Stoke first. He went to Stoke on loan, and he'd been to Sunderland on loan. And he moved to Sunderland, and he had to drop all the way down to League One with them, and it was a bit of a slow process. He's 23 now, but he's only really hit the heights in the last couple of seasons. So it's not quite late bloomer. He was 20, 21 before he started performing, which is fine. That's successful. You know, we at West Ham have 21-year-olds in our under-23s that's never had a sniff of first-team football. It's been very limited. But last season, he absolutely smashed it for Sunderland. 9 goals and 12 assists, I think it was. This season, he's got 12 goals already. He plays on the left-hand side. Very comfortable with both. Very footed, but very comfortable with both feet. A fantastic dribbler of the ball. Loses the ball a lot, but takes players on. He's brave. He keeps on doing it. Has the work rate. Has a defensive side to his game as well. Now, if David Moyes was to have a checklist for what he wants in a winger, I think Jack Clarke's ticking everything here. I do. Now, a lot of this transfer rumour for me depends on the truth behind David Moyes being offered a new contract. It's yet to happen. Moyes has said it's going to happen. Some West Ham in the nose have said he's going to be offered one. We have to wait and see, but it's not been confirmed yet. If Moyes was to get a new contract, hypothetically, Moyes to get a new contract this month, very quickly I could believe this transfer rumour. Whether we make a move for him in January or wait till the summer remains to be seen. I'd be surprised if Sunderland were open to allowing him to leave now, because whatever his transfer value is today, say 20, 25 million, it will probably be the same in the summer, if not even greater, should Sunderland get promoted. Sunderland, he's a Premier League player and he may not leave Sunderland, but that's why I would like us to make our move now, just in case Sunderland do get promoted. You might have missed your opportunity, or his price might increase quite a lot actually. In regards to Clarke, he's been one of the best players in the Championship, but like I said, he ticks all the boxes for David Moyes. But even if Moyes was to move on, he's still a very good young winger that can score goals but also get assists as well. It's not just one or the other. Sometimes you'll come across players who get a lot of goals but they don't necessarily provide, or they do the assists but they don't necessarily score goals. So you do wonder how that would transfer to your team. But with Clarke, he did both last season, 9 and 12 this season. Not as many as assists this season. I think it's only 3 or 4 assists to his name this season, but he's getting the goal. So he's doing it in the Championship. Can he do it in the Premier League? Well, that's the big question. But Spurs seen something there years ago that they decided to substantially invest in him. Now, it didn't work out for him at Spurs. That's fine. It's going to happen. But now, at 23 years of age, I think he's worth, I say the pun, he's definitely worth it. We do have our homegrown quota to look after. So we are going to be linked to a lot of homegrown players, and we will be buying homegrown players. Whether it's January or the summer, we will have to sign them. We could find ourselves in a situation where we've got one hand tied behind our back a little bit, in the sense that we might need 3 or 4 players, but actually 2 or 3 of them have to be homegrown. So I think the more players we can identify that ticks that homegrown quota, the better, because the left wing position is definitely one we need to upgrade. Moyes has spoken about it, that he wants a new left-sided player. There's question marks over Benrahma. There's not even a question mark over Cornet, even that's gone missing. Fornals once out. He's going in the summer at the latest. Paqueta, who we're currently using on the left-hand side, could also be off as well. So all 4 options for that left side of the pitch might not be here next season. And the one that we do hope is here in Paqueta, Moyes has spoken about wanting to moving more central. I think there's a big desire from the fan base to see him more central. I'm actually relaxed about it, truth be told. I think he's performing well. I don't think he's a left winger. I think he moves quite a lot. I prefer him popping up in the central position. But if we can get a left winger in that sees Paqueta move and almost have a free role in team, then it's good for me. But the manager wants to see it as well. So I think the priority would be someone that can play the left side of the attack. And I think Jack Clarke would be a fantastic addition to the squad, actually. And then come this summer, that's one less homegrown player that you need to worry about. Now, moving on from one homegrown player in Championship to the other, and they're both wingers, and that is Jonathan Rowe. Now, I've seen him less than Jack Clarke. I've seen quite a bit of Jack Clarke. Rowe I've seen a handful of times, not too many. I don't recall him last season. The season before, when they were in the Championship and got relegated, they were in the Premier League and got relegated to Championship. I remember him coming off the bench a few times, and there was a bit of hype from Norwich fans because they were already down. They were pretty much in the Championship. It was a case of, well, can we bring in some of the youngsters to have a look at them before we get relegated? And Rowe was one of those players. And I don't recall him doing too much coming off the bench. I remember him, but I don't recall him really impressing me too much. Don't remember him last season. This season, I've seen a couple of Norwich games. One of them, fortunately for this video, was against Ipswich. And he scored 2 goals in that one. Now, I say he's right-footed. I've seen him better with his left foot. I think naturally, if he took a pen, I think he'd hit it with his right foot. So I'm going to say he's right-footed. But some of the goals I've seen him score are with his left foot or his head. So quite a fast player. Again, very direct like Clarke. Doesn't mind running with the ball. Easier to do than Championship up against lesser ability defenders. I don't think that's too harsh to say. Seems to have a little bit of strength about him. But I don't know enough. I've not seen him enough to really say whether I want him or not. Now, he is only 20, so he's 3 years younger than Clarke. And he's got a bit of hype about him. 10 goals, 3 assists so far this season in Championships. He's had a really good season. But unlike Clarke, this is the first season he's doing it. But again, he's 3 years younger. So which one would I choose between the two of them? It would be Clarke, but only because I've seen him more. However, there's people watching this that have seen them both an equal amount of times. I'd be intrigued to know which one of those 2 players you'd prefer us to move for. But when I've seen him play, he's been on the right. Now, I did check the data prior to doing this video just to make sure he wasn't a right winger. And it seems pretty 50-50 as to which side he actually plays on. But like I said, when I've seen him play, he's been on the right-hand side, cutting in using his left foot. That's why when I was a bit like, what foot does he actually use? I haven't done my old research. He's right-footed, but alright, fair enough. But he looks really good with his left foot anyway. So, Rowe, yes, I'm pleased to be linked to him. I know a lot of West Ham would love him at West Ham. But I just haven't seen him enough to say how strongly I would like him. Whereas Clarke, I feel like I've seen him plenty times to really want him at West Ham. Like I said, he's got the defensive side. Clarke's got... It feels wrong talking about how good defensively an attacking player is, but ultimately we know that's required at West Ham to succeed. Caduce's got it, Bowen's got it, Paqueta's kind of got it. Sometimes it works. It gets you in the team, it keeps you in the team. So if Clarke was to arrive, I'd be confident he would succeed under David Moyes. Now let's talk about Said Benrahma then. He's been linked with a move away. I hope it happens. I do. If there was 2 players I could sell, just 3 again. There was 3 players I was hoping we'd sell in this window: Kerr, Kone, Benrahma. Now let me be clear. I think Kerr's a great player. I'm convinced something must have happened because he's gone from being a decent squad option to just not really playing at all. Regardless, I wanted him moved on because you could command a fee for him. Now regarding the transfer, it's a bit confusing. It's been confirmed now, but the club have said there's an option there for Monaco to buy him. Fabrizio Romano has said there's an option to make it mandatory, which is a bit conflicting really, because mandatory means you have to buy him, option means you don't have to buy him, so it's a bit of a strange one. I believe the bit in the middle is true, which is if he plays so many games it becomes compulsory. They have to sign him if he plays so many games. So I think that's how it's worked with Kerr. Benrahma we can still command a fee for. I've seen him linked to some clubs for €23 million, which I'd be surprised if we got that much. I'd bite your hand off for it. In Cornet, listen, I want to keep Cornet. Ideally, we'd keep him, we'd use him because I think he's a damn good player. But the manager isn't using him, and I struggle to convince myself the manager will begin using him. So for that reason, if we could get some money for those 3 players, that's the 3 I would have shifted on. But that leads me on to sort of the geeky part of the video. So, pardon me, Benrahma linked to a few clubs. I hope he goes. He's worth a bit of money. 1 goal, and he's like, what was the stat? 1 goal in 24 games now in the Premier League. He's a winger that can't score and can't set up goals. It's hard really to want him when he comes on. When I see him coming on, I've got no faith that he's going to change the game. He's a nice option to have, and he's, you know, something we'll look back in years to come with fondness of Benrahma, with his contribution to winning the Conference League, scoring the penalty. You know, ice cold blood in his veins for that as well. So he's gone down in history at West Ham. And I think part of the reason that I want him to go now is so that actually that legacy remains, because the longer he stays here, I think that's just going to diminish even further. So Benrahma I'd like to see move on. Now I know people say, what about Ings? I just don't think we'll get money for them. You know, it'd be nice to get the wages off the books, but we're not going to get money in that we can utilise. We'll get a couple million maybe, but what we're going to do with that? Nothing. So at least the 3 I'm speaking about, we can actually command, or could have commanded, a substantial enough fee, 10, 15 million for, which would allow us to reinvest in the squad in this window. Now the reason I say those 3 players, and this is the geeky bit, so if you don't like the geeky bit, it's time for you to disappear, but please do drop a like on it and subscribe if you're new around here before you go. The geeky bit is that, obviously I've spoken about homegrown players and that. Don't worry, I'm not going to be doing the geek stuff every video. It's just a reminder. East Side Views said, how many players do you think we'll bring in? This is yesterday. He said, how many players do you think we'll realistically get? I said 1 or 2. I'm confident we'll get at least 1. The optimistic part of me thinks we'll get 2. That's it. I'd be surprised if it's more. And I don't think there'll be anything substantial. That's why when it comes to Jack Clarke, I'm a bit... I don't think we'll be spending that much money on a player. Guirassy is a bit different because of the release clause. But in regards to sort of major surgery on the team, I just don't see it. I hope we do, but I just don't see it. But there's a barrier, if you like, to sort of limit what we can do. And that is when it comes to the European squad, you can only make 3 changes. So obviously Kerr's gone, we can replace him with someone. That counts as 1 change, by the way. It's not... 1 player coming out of the squad isn't a change, it's replacing him. That's the change. So Kerr out and then someone in is 1. So realistically, we can only sign 3 new players in the January transfer window at the max. But of course, we could sign 4 or 5. It's just that we can't then register those in the European squad, which we're just not going to do. No player's going to sign knowing they're not going to get into the European team, are they? That's part of the lure that we've got. That's the advantage we've got over Wolves at the minute in the January transfer window, which is we can offer them European football. Might only be 2 games, but you know, we can offer European football. We've got evidence from last season and the season prior that we're going to go far in this competition. A little bit of luck in the draw that we could actually win the Europa League. We've got that. We can present that to a player, saying, hey, 6 months time from now you could have won a trophy. You might win a trophy at West Ham, you don't know. But you can only make 3 changes to your European squad before the knockout phase. So that's why we won't do more than 3. I'm 99% confident we will not sign more than 3 players, put it that way. I mean, I'm not even that confident we'll sign 3 in total, but there's a limit. Anyway, I'm going to shut up and disappear. Serhou Guirassy, yes please. Jack Clarke, yes please. Jonathan Lowe, quite like what I've seen, just haven't really seen enough. If you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up, helps out the video. Please subscribe if you're new to Hammers Chat, and I shall catch you in the comment section.